أنا هولندي, أنا Muslim, or at no deeper empty. I found a religion that I found very beautiful. Online were incorrect and
احنا مباشرين ولا زلنا في برنامجنا الرمضاني. أحد الأخوة أيضا الهولنديين اللي الحمد لله أيضا دخل الإسلام، واليوم نسمع قصته. يا
لا أتكلم عربية.
ليش ما تتكلم العربية؟
لا أتكلم فقط هولندية.
Let me hear your please story with Islam.
I thought I could do something else because I studied IT. I was thinking like I studied IT for 7 years, and then also another half year more computers, you know. So I thought like I could do something else I like, and with the interest in politics and people and history I also love, I decided to do a minor Arabic language and culture. So I always say as a joke that's my first and biggest mistake, because then I got introduced to the Arabic history, which is also just Islamic history, because it's a major part of the Arab history. And that's where I learned my few lines of Arabic. So that's where it started basically. And when I finished my studies, I was just thinking, and I still was not interested in Islam specifically. Like I had no search, I was not searching for God or had no deeper emptiness, or was just curious. So it's like, you know, instead of reading about Islam, you know, via the news, via the study, not via, let's buy the Quran itself and read the Quran itself actually, you know, instead of like via all of these routes. So I started reading it the first time, and I thought it was a nice book. It didn't touch me yet, I guess. But I did see like a lot of the things that I saw online were incorrect, and I was talking to classmates and I saw what they were saying was incorrect, and it confused me a bit. It confused me, like, why are you saying this? And I was telling them, no, but the Quran says this, right? You're supposed to do this. And then they were like, oh yeah, I think you're right. You know, I was correcting them by accident.
Yeah.
So at some point, I don't know why, I read it again, but I think because I knew so much of the basics and I discussed with a lot of people, I read it differently that time, and that's when it started to like come closer to me, I guess. I think I suddenly started to see the logic more. So I understood why they did some certain things. I understood why some rules were there, because they were for your health, for your mental health, for your general health, for your family protection. I think I started to see the logic more. And I think that's what made me doubt a little, because I was already like a person who didn't drink alcohol. I didn't go to parties that
before
much.
the Islam also?
Yeah, before. I went, and I was kind of a good boy, let's say. So I think I started to see the logic more, and I think subtly I started to practice a little bit, like in etiquette, because I think like, if you're the better person, then it's never you. You know, a better word in Dutch we sometimes say, a better world starts with yourself. I think that's sort of the mindset I had back then. But I also started studying a bit more serious, I think, watching lectures of Mufti Menk, and just seeing the general logic. And I think at that point I also started to doubt a little whether God existed or not. So after all that, I only started to doubt. And I read it for a third time for some reason. I don't even know why anymore. Just because I was doubting probably. And then it really started, I started to waver, I started like, maybe I should do this, is God real? What if he's not real? And I was a bit 50-50 about it. But there was a Ramadan in 2018, and I felt sort of guilty for not participating, I guess, while I was not Muslim.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that feeling was there. And I guess I just Googled online, I was so sick of the doubt. I was like, I'll just call a mosque and I'll convert and I'll just see what happens.
SubhanAllah. Yeah.
And it's not really a pure intention, because you're supposed to have an open heart and and I was more like frustrated. Like astaghfirullah, I was sort of frustrated about it. So I called the mosque and they were like, I don't have time right now. Can you call this guy? And I wrote down his number and I was like, I'm not gonna call, That was such a horrible treatment. And I called anyway, like 15 minutes later, so
SubhanAllah.
no sabr there.
Yeah.
And so I called the second guy, and he was like, yeah, come over. And like we talked a bit in the mosque about things, and they were like, oh, you already know some stuff. Oh, you read the Quran. Oh, you read it more than once. Oh, So it's like, At Maghreb, I didn't really feel it for some reason, and then we talked a bit more. And like before Isha, I was like, yeah, I think I want to do it, but still a bit out of frustration. So it's a bit funny, I think, in retrospect.
Subhanallah. Your life. What was your life in before the Islam?
I did my Shahada that night, and that was sort of amazing. I actually.
Speak more about the day
Okay.
when you said Shahada.
So I did my Shahada, but I was a little bit naive still. I knew stuff about Islam, but not the practical stuff. So I walk into like an area, and like with Maghreb, there were like 20 people. Isha, I have no idea about Taraweeh. So it was like packed with hundreds of people, and I was like, oh, you know, like, subhanallah. So I did the Shahada, and I felt like a flush through my body.
Yeah, you can't.
I think it's like I felt like a flush through my body, like it's a very strange feeling. I can't describe that feeling very well. It's like my body was being flushed or something. Yeah. And yeah, after that, people always say like, oh, you're converted, so you have a clean start. But what they forget is like for 26 years, I lived as a non-Muslim. I have 1,000 habits, 1,000 etiquettes, you know, things I do daily, the food I eat. I have to change everything in the beginning. So you have, and I never pray, you know, so you have to start praying once a day, twice a day. You begin from scratch. So yes, you get a new, you know, rebirth, but you also have like everything from before you take that with you. I swore a lot, for example.
After Islam, which habits, but you cannot do.
Well, I didn't drink alcohol, so that was nothing. I didn't eat pork already, because pork gave me acne and like so that was very bad. I stopped. I didn't eat halal, but I ate no pork. So that was a minor switch. I barely ever went to parties or anything like that, which Europe is so known about. So I didn't really have to drop that. It was more like my manners I had to adjust because my type of jokes were like inappropriate. Yeah. Islam would say immoral. Astaghfirullah. So that's like very of the subtle things I had to change, and like the behavior towards the parents and that kind of stuff.
And what challenge you faced, in the Islam?
I have to say my biggest challenge was mainly other Muslims, because like I found a religion that I found very beautiful, and I converted to it. So I made like a life decision, and at the same time you see a lot of people who are Muslims, like Moroccans, Turks, and you see them have bad manners. And while I'm studying like, oh, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that, oh, that is better to do for this reason, you see people like that in public like misbehaving. And that really makes you think like, am I joining those people, you know? Like it really makes you doubt from, is this a good decision? Like, am I studying the wrong thing, or like, what has happened? But later you learn like not everyone gets Islam in their, from their parents properly, sadly. In the Netherlands.
But some people has in difficult opinion about the Islam. Yeah, and why? Maybe.
Well, I mean, the reason I got into Islam is because of the media, and that was not positive news. It was a war in Iraq and a war in Afghanistan that the Netherlands supported. You know, it's not a happy story. But in the end, I think everyone knows those wars were nonsense. Like even the average Dutch knows. And I think that made a lot of people curious about Islam. You see the same with Palestine nowadays. Yeah, like there's a lot of converts because people studied the religion because of that incident. Yeah. So
how did you find the prayer when you subhanallah do the prayer?
When I think I can answer it by reversing it. When I don't pray, you know, I had weak iman moments because I was a beginning Muslim and it's ups and downs in the beginning. I got a sort of depressive when I prayed less or not. So that teaches you very easily to pray.
Subhanallah.
So if I don't pray, I get depressed. So I better pray, you know.
Something.
I miss something. It becomes empty. I feel sad.
Allah.
This, why shouldn't I pray?
Yeah.
At least the farts, you know, because else.
Subhanallah, the prayer makes you comfortable, I think.
Yeah, it makes you comfortable. It gives you fulfillment. It makes you feel.
And we are in Ramadan.
Yes.
In the best month in the Islam. Yeah. And how did you find then Ramadan?
I don't fast, as I told you before walking here, because I'm diabetic. So that's sort of challenging because everyone is like putting in effort and I'm just doing the normal stuff. But what I try to do is attend a lot of lectures and classes. There's usually a bit more during the Ramadan here in the Netherlands. And I try to join iftars in the mosque.
And do you know something about the right of women in the Quran? In the Islam?
as far as I know, Islam has traditional roles, but that's like a basis. It's not set in iron, as we say in English. You know, so if you make if the woman has a better study than you and she wants to work, that's allowed as far as I know, but it's not like the standard.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's what you do with your partner, I guess.
What's the best thing you like in the Islam?
The best thing I think is the etiquette, the manners of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Can you maybe something brought about this?
Well, you know, the Prophet was ridiculed, he was rejected, his friends were murdered. He faced a lot more trouble than you and I have, and probably as well as the viewers.
Yes.
And still he was a good man, he was merciful, he was kind, he always showed the best of manners. When people had an argument, he wanted A, he wanted B, and the Prophet said, no, this is better. He always just took one step above with his etiquette. And I think those morals in Islam are, I don't think you'll find it anywhere else, completely. In any culture, in any religion. So I think that's something Islam is superior in. And if people would follow that a bit more, like a little bit, the world would be a much more beautiful place.
About